The Rendax fleet commander was named Thresic. He had fought in 17 campaigns across 8 systems. He considered himself experienced in the art of war. As his flagship emerged from FTL with 300 warships behind him, he felt confident. 7 enemy vessels against his armada. The fight would be over in minutes. Target the largest ship, he ordered. All forward vessels prepare to fire. On the bridge of the human flagship, June watched the enemy fleet spread out in what they probably thought was an intimidating formation. His tactical officer called out ranges and firing solutions. Hana stood at her station, ready to coordinate medical response if anyone was injured. Beside her, Mira observed silently, documenting everything for the eventual diplomatic proceedings. "They are powering weapons," Yuna reported from her console. Her fingers danced across holographic controls. "Multiple plasma arrays locking onto us. Should I raise combat shields?" "Not yet," June said calmly. "Let them fire first. I want this on record." They initiated hostilities. The Rendax fleet fired. Hundreds of plasma bolts streaked across space toward the human ships. It was a display of firepower that would have vaporized most naval forces in the galaxy. The bolts struck the human vessels in waves of superheated energy. When the light cleared, the human ships were still there. Shields glowed blue where they had absorbed the impacts. Armor plating showed scorch marks but no penetration. Not a single human vessel had taken critical damage. "Shields holding at 97%, Yuna reported. "Minor heating on outer hull sections. No structural damage." Thresic stared at his displays in disbelief. How? Those were full-power shots. Enough to cripple any ship in the sector. His weapons officer looked equally confused. "Sir, their shield harmonics are unlike anything in our database. And their armor, it is reading as some kind of composite material we have never seen before. Extremely dense. Fire again. All ships, continuous bombardment." The Rendax fleet poured everything they had into the human ships. Plasma missiles, kinetic rounds. For 2 full minutes, space itself seemed to burn with weapons fire, and still the human ships held position. Their shields flickered but never failed. Their armor blackened but never broke. Then June gave the order that would end the battle. "Return fire. Kinetic weapons only. Target their engines and weapon systems. Disable, do not destroy." The human ships responded with weapons that had been designed over thousands of years of human warfare. Railguns that used magnetic acceleration to fire projectiles at relativistic speeds. Missiles with guidance systems that could track a target through evasive maneuvers. And behind it all, computing power developed by a species that had learned to make war with mathematical precision. The first volley from the human fleet tore through the Rendax formation like a blade through paper. Railgun rounds punched through shields that had never been designed to stop solid projectiles traveling at such incredible velocities. Missiles wove through point defense systems with artificial intelligence that predicted where targets would be, not where they were. Within seconds, 20 Rendax ships were crippled, their engines destroyed, their weapons offline. "Adjust fire," Thresic screamed. "Evasive patterns. Get us out of range." But there was no range that was safe. Human weapons had been built to fight in Earth's gravity well, where physics made everything harder. In the gentle environment of space, they performed even better. Another volley. 30 more Rendax ships disabled, and the human vessels had not even moved from their defensive positions. Yuna coordinated the fleet with calm efficiency. She had trained for this her entire military career. She knew exactly how much force to apply, where to hit, how to maximize damage while minimizing casualties. Strike Wing Alpha, focus on the right flank. Beta Wing, hammer their command ships. Don't give them time to regroup. Kai had launched with a squadron of human fighters. These were small craft piloted by humans who had grown up in Earth's crushing gravity. They could handle G-forces that would cause most species to black out or die. They spun and dove through the Rendax formation, drawing fire and eliminating point defense systems. "This is insane," one of the Rendax pilots shouted over an open channel. "They are pulling 9G turns like it is nothing." Kai grinned inside his helmet. 9Gs was uncomfortable, sure, but human pilots trained at 12. Their bodies, compressed and strengthened by evolution on a high-gravity world, could handle acceleration that would pulp a Rendax. He lined up a shot on a Rendax frigate and fired. His weapons were smaller than the main fleet's railguns, but they still hit with devastating accuracy. The frigate's shield generator exploded. Kai's wingmen finished the job, taking out the engine core. The ship went dark, drifting helplessly. On the surface of Velthara, the entire planet watched. Every screen showed the battle. Quirix stood in his command center, surrounded by military advisors and counselors. They watched in stunned silence as the human fleet dismantled the Rendax armada with surgical precision. "They are not even using their full power," one of the military analysts said. "Look at the damage patterns. Every shot is carefully placed. They could destroy those ships completely, but they are choosing to disable them instead." "Why?" Counselor Nivix asked. "Why show mercy to an enemy?" "Because that is what they promised," Quirix said quietly. "They said they would protect us, not start a genocide. They are keeping their word, even in the middle of battle." In space, Thresic's fleet was in full retreat. Of the 300 ships he had brought, over 200 were disabled or destroyed. The rest were burning their engines at maximum, trying to reach FTL distance. But even here, human technology proved superior. Their FTL interdiction fields stretched farther, lasted longer, held more tightly. June watched the fleeing ships with cold calculation. He could destroy them all. It would be easy, but that was not the goal. The goal was to show the Rendax that continued aggression was pointless, to break their will to fight without having to kill every last one of them. "Flagship to all Rendax vessels," he broadcast on all frequencies. "You are defeated. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that continues to flee will be disabled. Any ship that fires will be destroyed. You have 1 minute to comply." Thresic looked at his tactical display. His fleet was in ruins. His reputation was destroyed. And he was facing an enemy he did not understand. 7 ships, just 7. And they had broken the largest fleet the Rendax had ever assembled. How? He asked no one in particular. How are they so strong? His science officer had been running analysis throughout the battle. "Sir, I have been reviewing the data. These humans, their homeworld is rated as a Class 12 death world. Do you understand what that means? They evolved in 4 times the gravity we did. Their weapons were designed to fight wars on a planet where everything is harder, heavier, more violent. They are built for this." Thresic felt something he had never experienced before in combat. True fear. They had not just lost a battle. They had encountered something beyond their ability to fight. A species that made war the way other species made art. "Stand down," he ordered. "All ships power down weapons. We surrender." The battle had lasted 1 hour and 43 minutes. When it was over, the human fleet had disabled or destroyed 278 Rendax vessels. Human casualties, 0. Human ships lost, 0. It was not a battle. It was a demonstration. June allowed himself a moment of relief. Then he opened a channel to the surface. "Elder Quirix, this is Commander June. The Rendax fleet has been neutralized. Your skies are secure." On the surface, the Veltharan people erupted in celebration. They had been saved. The terrifying fleet that had come to conquer them had been broken in less than 2 hours by 7 ships crewed by beings from a world of death. But Quirix did not celebrate. He understood something the others did not. The humans had won with such ease that it was almost casual. They had held back, showing mercy when they could have shown annihilation, but they had also revealed something fundamental about themselves. When Mira returned from the flagship that evening, Quirix asked her the question that had been haunting him. "How many species in the galaxy could do what you just did?" Mira considered carefully before answering. "In a straight fight, ship to ship? Maybe 3 or 4 others from Deathworlds, but most of them would have just destroyed the Rendax fleet outright. We are probably the only ones who would have tried to minimize casualties." "Why?" Quirix asked. "Why show mercy to an enemy?" "Because we know what it is like to be afraid," Mira said. "Earth nearly destroyed itself a dozen times before we reached the stars. We know the cost of unchecked violence. We choose to be better than our worst instincts." That night, Grelic lay in his medical bed listening to other wounded Rendax discuss what had happened. They spoke in hushed, frightened tones about the humans, about their strength, their weapons, their cold efficiency in battle. A human medic came through checking on patients. She was kind, gentle even. She adjusted Grelic's bandages and asked if he needed anything for the pain. He stared at her, trying to reconcile this soft-spoken healer with the warriors who had destroyed his fleet. "You could have killed us all," he said. She nodded. "Yes, we could have. Why didn't you?" "Because," she said, "we are not here to prove we can kill. We are here to prove we can protect." What had arrived were warriors from a world of death, beings built for war, and the human base went up in 72 hours. It appeared on the southern edge of the capital like a fortress from another age, all reinforced walls and defensive positions. Veltheran construction crews watched in amazement as human engineers worked at speeds that seemed impossible. They carried equipment that should have required machines, assembled structures with their bare hands, and worked in shifts that lasted far longer than any Veltheran could manage. Suho, one of the younger human engineers, became something of a curiosity. He was friendly and talkative, often taking breaks to chat with the Veltheran workers. On the third day, he pulled out his lunch and began eating in full view of everyone. A young Veltheran technician named Pixel approached cautiously. "What is that?" "Spicy noodles from home," Suho said cheerfully. "Want a smell?" He held out the container. The vapor rising from it made Pixel's eyes water. "That smells like chemical poison," Pixel said, backing away. "How can you eat that?" Suho laughed and took a big bite. "Capsaicin. It is a mild toxin, actually. Makes food taste good. Burns a little going down." He pulled out a bottle. "Want some water?" "Oh wait, this is actually beer. Ethanol. Another mild poison we consume for fun." Pixel stared in horror. "You eat poisons for enjoyment?" "Earth is a tough place," Suho explained between bites. "Our bodies can handle a lot. We evolved to eat almost anything, survive almost anywhere." He noticed Pixel's distress and softened his tone. "Sorry, I forget how different we are sometimes. You guys are pretty cool, though. Your cities are beautiful. Everything on Earth is built to last through disasters. Here things are built to look nice." This conversation spread through the Veltharan population like wildfire. The humans could eat poisons. They drank chemicals that would kill most species. What else could they survive? Meanwhile, June stood in the command center reviewing the tactical situation with his senior staff. Holographic displays showed the northern continent in detail. Red zones marked Rendax-controlled territory. Blue zones showed human deployment positions. "We need to be smart about this," June said. "The Rendax have numbers and established positions. We have superior technology and combat experience. But our real challenge is protecting the Veltherans while we work." Hana pulled up a medical report. "I have been examining wounded Veltherans from the border settlements. Some injuries are weeks old because their bodies heal so slowly. A broken bone that would take a human 6 weeks to heal takes them 6 months. We cannot let any of them get caught in crossfire." "That is why we implement the Deathworld doctrine," June said. He activated a new display showing rules of engagement. Limited use of explosives. No orbital bombardment. Precision weapons only. We go in on foot and take territory meter by meter if we have to. Kai looked at the plan and nodded. Small unit tactics, fast insertions. Hit their supply lines in command structure. We can do that. First objective is their forward operating base here. June pointed to a location 50 kilometers north of the capital. They are using it to coordinate raids on civilian settlements. We take it. We cut off their ability to project force into this region. The operation launched that night. 200 human soldiers in powered armor moved through the darkness. Their suits were not the hulking battle mechs some species used. Instead, they were sleek systems that enhanced already impressive human capabilities. They moved silent as shadows through terrain that would have stopped most armies. Kai led the first squad. They approached the Rendax base from 3 directions, using the forest for cover. Through their helmet displays, they could see the base's defenses, guard towers with automated weapons, patrol routes, sensor nets. Thermal imaging shows approximately 300 hostiles inside, Yuna reported from orbit. She was coordinating the operation from the fleet. Guard towers have 2 Rendax each. Patrols are running every 15 minutes. Understood, Kai whispered. Moving to disable sensors now. The human soldiers moved with practiced efficiency. They took out sensor arrays without triggering alarms. Guard towers fell silent as targeted strikes eliminated their occupants before they could raise an alert. Within 20 minutes, the outer defenses were neutralized. Then they went in. The first Rendax to encounter the humans was a patrol leader named Grelick. He was walking his route, checking his datapad when movement caught his eye. A figure emerged from the shadows, and for a moment, Grelick thought it was another Rendax in armor. Then he saw the face through the visor, forward-facing eyes. Flat face, compact build, contact, Grelick shouted, bringing up his plasma rifle. He fired 3 shots center mass. The figure should have gone down. Instead, it barely staggered. The armor had absorbed impacts that would have killed Grelick if their positions were reversed. The human raised its weapon and fired. The round hit Grellick in the shoulder, spinning him around. He fell, his armor cracked, pain shooting through his body. The human moved past him, heading deeper into the base. More shots echoed through the night, screams, alarms finally beginning to blare. But it was too late. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, the Rendax base was in human hands. Most of the Rendax soldiers had been incapacitated with non-lethal or less lethal methods. Those who had fought back with deadly force had been eliminated with precision fire. The humans had suffered 0 casualties. Several had damaged armor. One had a minor burn from a plasma weapon. But they walked away from a fight that should have been much more costly. Grellick found himself in a field hospital as the sun rose. A human medic was treating his wound. He recognized her from a briefing he had seen weeks ago. Dr. Hana, the human chief medical officer. "You will live," she said in accented Rendax language. The round missed major blood vessels. "You are lucky, lucky?" Grellick hissed. "What are you? We hit you with everything we had. You did not even slow down." Hana finished sealing the wound and sat back. "We are human." "We come from Earth. Do you know what that means?" "Deathworlder," Grellick said quietly. "The rumors are true." "Every rumor you have heard is probably an understatement," Hana replied. "Earth is a Class 12 death world. High gravity, extreme weather, aggressive megafauna. Our ancestors survived ice ages and supervolcanoes. We evolved to be nearly impossible to kill because anything less died out." "Why did you not just destroy us all?" Grellick asked. "You could have. That first shot from orbit. You could have used it on all our bases." "Because we are not monsters," Hana said. "We are here to protect the Veltherans, not to commit genocide. If you withdraw from this world, there does not need to be more fighting." Grellick laughed bitterly. "You do not understand. Our high command will not accept this. They will send the fleet. Hundreds of ships. Even Deathworlders cannot fight those numbers." "We will see," Hana said. News of the battle spread quickly. The Veltherans learned that humans had taken a fortified Rendax position with minimal casualties. They had seen combat footage. The humans moved through hostile fire like it was rain. They lifted equipment that should have required vehicles. They fought with coordination that came from a species that understood war at a fundamental level. Mira spent her time in the capital, trying to manage the growing fear among the Veltharan population. She sat with Elder Quirix in his private chambers, sipping a beverage that tasted like flowers. "Your people are frightened of us," she said bluntly. "I can see it in their skin patterns, in the way they avoid eye contact." Quirix could not deny it. "You are the most dangerous beings we have ever encountered. Even when you are trying to be gentle, you are terrifying." "I understand," Mira said, "but you need to know something about humans. Yes, we are violent. Yes, we are physically powerful, but we are also capable of great compassion. We have literature, art, music. We care for our sick and elderly. We form bonds with other species. We can be the monsters you fear, but we choose not to be. Can you maintain that choice?" Quirix asked. "When the Rendax fleet arrives, when the real fighting starts, can you remain humane?" Before Mira could answer, alarms sounded across the city. Yuna's voice came through every communication device simultaneously. "All personnel, this is Orbital Command. We have multiple contacts entering the system. Rendax fleet detected. Estimate 300 vessels inbound. ETA 90 minutes. Commander June has ordered battle stations. All civilians should move to designated shelters." Quirix felt his skin turn pale. 300 ships. The largest fleet Velthera had ever seen. And only 7 human vessels to face them. Mira stood calmly, draining the last of her drink. "You asked if we can remain humane. Elder Quirix, you are about to see exactly what humans become when the people we protect are threatened." In orbit, June sat in his command chair, watching the tactical display as red icons multiplied across the screen. His crew moved with practiced efficiency around him. No panic, no fear. This was what they trained for. All ships, this is flagship. Weapons free. Standard Death World engagement protocols. Let us show them why Earth is still alive after 4 billion years. The Rendax fleet came out of FTL in attack formation. They saw 7 human ships waiting for them. They assumed it would be easy. They were very, very wrong. The shuttle touched down in the central plaza with barely a whisper of sound. It was a smooth, controlled landing that spoke of advanced technology and skilled pilots. Around the plaza, thousands of Veltharans had gathered to witness the arrival of their potential saviors. Security barriers kept them at a safe distance, but nothing could contain their curiosity and fear. Quirix stood at the base of the landing pad with a small group of counselors. His skin patterns flickered between formal greeting colors and stress markers. He could not help it. The shuttle was larger up close than it had seemed from the air, all sharp angles and reinforced plating. It looked like it was built to survive combat, not diplomacy. The hatch opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. A ramp extended to the ground. And then they emerged. Commander June came first, followed by 3 other humans. They wore formal uniforms rather than armor, but even these could not hide the raw physicality of their bodies. They were shorter than Veltharans, but built completely differently. Where Veltharans were tall and slender, these beings were compact and dense. Their movements had weight to them. Each step seemed heavy with purpose. Quirix felt his breathing quicken. The humans had forward-facing eyes just like in the hologram, predator eyes. Their faces were covered in skin that looked thick and durable, nothing like the delicate translucent membrane that covered Veltharan features. One of them, a female with dark hair, had visible muscle definition in her arms that was larger than anything Quirix had ever seen on a living being. "Elder Quirix," June said, stopping a respectful distance away. He performed what might have been a gesture of greeting, placing his hand over his chest. "Thank you for receiving us. May I introduce my team? This is Dr. Hana, our Chief Medical Officer, Mira, our Diplomatic Specialist, and Kai, our Security Officer." The one called Hana smiled. It showed her teeth, white, even teeth that looked strong enough to tear through almost anything. Quirix knew it was meant as a friendly gesture, but his instincts screamed danger. Every part of his evolutionary heritage told him he was standing in front of apex predators. "Welcome to Velthara," Quirix managed to say. His voice translator did its best to render his words in Galactic Common. "We are in your debt for coming so quickly." "We should discuss the situation inside," Mira suggested. She spoke more slowly than June, and her tone was softer. "We have reviewed the data you included in your distress signal, but we need more details." The group moved toward the council building. As they walked, Quirix noticed the humans looking around with interest. Their heads moved in smooth tracking motions. They were observing everything, cataloging their surroundings with what seemed like military precision. Inside the council chamber, chairs had been prepared for the visitors. The humans sat down carefully, and Quirix heard the furniture creak under their weight. They were heavier than they looked, as if their bones were made of some incredibly dense material. Hana pulled out a small device and began scanning the room. "Atmospheric composition is good," she said to her companions. "Gravity is 0.6 standard. Temperature is comfortable. We can operate here without environmental suits." "0.6? Quirix asked. "I do not understand." "Earth gravity," June explained. "Our homeworld. Velthara's gravity is 60% of what we evolved in. Everything here will feel lighter to us. We will need to be careful not to accidentally damage things." As if to demonstrate this, Kai reached over to move a small ceremonial sculpture that was sitting on a side table. He picked it up with one hand, lifting something that normally required 2 Veltharans to carry. He realized his mistake immediately when he saw the shocked expressions around him. "Sorry," Kai said, putting it down quickly. "I did not mean to. I will be more careful." The meeting began with Quirix explaining the full situation. The Rendax had started with demands for mining rights and agricultural land. When Velthara had tried to negotiate, they had responded with violence. The Veltharan defense fleet had been destroyed in a series of one-sided battles. Now the Rendax controlled nearly 30% of the northern continent and were expanding daily. "How many Rendax are we talking about?" June asked, taking notes on a portable display. "Our best estimate is between 50 and 70,000 combat troops," Quirix replied, "plus perhaps another 100,000 in support roles and colonist populations." The humans exchanged glances. Mira leaned forward. "And your own military strength?" "We have approximately 8,000 soldiers remaining," Quirix said quietly. "But they are not trained for this kind of conflict. We have never fought a war. Our military was designed for peacekeeping and disaster response, not combat against aggressive species." Hana spoke up, her voice gentle. "May I ask about Veltharan physiology? I have reviewed what limited data we have, but I want to make sure I understand. Your species is more fragile than most, correct?" Quirix felt embarrassment color his skin. "Yes, our evolution took place in a low-stress environment. Our bones are lightweight, our skin is thin, our bodies are not designed for violence. Can you show me? Hana asked. I am a doctor. I need to understand so I can help if anyone is injured during the operation. Reluctantly, Kirix allowed Hana to examine him with her medical scanner. The device hummed softly as it worked. When the results appeared on her display, Quirix saw her expression change. It was subtle, but he had learned to read human faces quickly. She looked concerned. Your bones have roughly 1/3 the density of human bones, she said carefully. Your skin is extremely thin and tears easily. Your internal organs have minimal protection. She looked at June. Commander, we need to be very careful here. The Rendax might be using weapons that seem moderate by galactic standards, but anything that can hurt them could easily kill Veltharans. June nodded. Understood. We will implement strict rules of engagement. No heavy weapons near civilian areas. All combat operations will be conducted with precision rather than overwhelming force. There is something else you should know, Quirix said. We have footage of Rendax soldiers. Perhaps it would help you understand what we are facing. He activated the holographic display. It showed a recording from one of the fallen settlements. Rendax warriors moved through the streets, their scaled bodies covered in armor. They stood roughly the same height as humans but were leaner, with elongated limbs and tails that helped with balance. Their weapons fired energy bolts that burned through Veltharan structures. Kai leaned closer to the display. They are using plasma rifles. Standard military grade. Their armor looks decent but nothing special. How many casualties do they take when your forces engage them? We inflict very few losses, Quirix admitted. They are simply too strong, too fast, too aggressive. Our weapons barely slow them down. There was a long silence. Then June spoke, his voice steady and professional. Elder Quirix, I need you to understand something. Humans come from what the galaxy calls a death world. Earth is a high-gravity planet with extreme weather, dangerous predators, and a history of constant competition for survival. This made us into something very different from most spacefaring species. Different how? Counselor Nivix asked nervously. Physically, we are stronger and more durable than most species, Hana explained. Our bones are dense, our muscles are powerful. We can heal from injuries that would kill others. We evolved to survive on a world that was constantly trying to kill us. And the Rendax? Quirix asked quietly. June's expression hardened. The Rendax come from a moderate world. By our standards, they are not particularly impressive. We have fought and defeated species much more dangerous. We can handle this situation. Just then, alarms began blaring throughout the building. A military coordinator burst into the room, his skin flashing panic colors. Elder Quirix! We have detected a Rendax scout ship in high orbit. They are scanning the planet. They must have detected the human fleet. June stood smoothly. Time to introduce ourselves. Kai, contact the fleet. Tell them to lock onto that scout ship, but wait for my order. Wait, Quirix said. You are going to attack them? We are going to show them what happens when they threaten a world under our protection, June replied. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. With your permission, Elder Quirix. Quirix hesitated only a moment. Then he nodded. June spoke into his communicator. This is Commander June. Target the Rendax scout vessel. Fire when ready. High above the planet, one of the human warships adjusted its position. A railgun, magnetically accelerated to incredible velocity, fired a single projectile. The tungsten slug traveled faster than any weapon the Veltharans had ever seen. It struck the Rendax scout ship amidships, punching through shields and armor like they were not even there. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash visible even from the surface. In the council chamber, every Veltharan stood frozen. They had just watched beings they had invited to their world destroy a military vessel with contemptuous ease. The humans stood calmly, as if they had done nothing more remarkable than close a door. Mira spoke into the silence, her voice soft but clear. We came to help you, but you need to understand what that means. We are not like you. We are not like the Rendax either. We are something they have never encountered before. Quirix looked at the humans standing before him. He had asked the galaxy for help. The council chamber was silent except for the soft humming of the atmospheric processors. Elder Quirix stood before the assembled leaders of Velthara, his translucent skin shimmering with distress patterns that everyone could read. They had been discussing the same topic for 17 days now, and still no consensus had emerged. We cannot fight them, Counselor Nivix said, her voice barely above a whisper. The Rendax have already consumed 3 settlements. Their weapons tear through our shields like they are made of air. Quirix looked at the holographic display floating in the center of the room. Red markers indicated where the Rendax had established their bases. They were spreading like a disease across the northern continent. The parasitic species had arrived 6 months ago in massive colony ships, claiming they needed resources. When Velthara had refused, the Rendax had simply taken what they wanted. The military option has failed, another counselor added. We sent our defense fleet. Only 2 ships returned. The Rendax are predators. We are not. This was the fundamental problem. The Veltharans had evolved on a world of gentle winds and calm seas. Their gravity was light, their atmosphere thick and comfortable. Predators on their world were small and rare. The Veltharans had never needed to develop weapons of war because war had never found them. Until now. Then we must consider the alternative, Quirix said. He pulled up another display, this one showing a star map. We send the signal into deep space. A call for help to anyone who can hear it. The chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. Sending a distress signal was dangerous. It would tell the entire galaxy that Velthara was weak and vulnerable. Other species might come not to help but to conquer what remained. We could invite something worse than the Rendax, Nivix warned. The galaxy is full of predator species. We know this from the trade networks. Quirix felt the weight of his position pressing down on him. He was 200 cycles old, ancient by Veltharan standards. He had led his people through natural disasters and economic challenges, but never war. Never an invasion by beings who saw Veltharans as nothing more than obstacles to remove. If we do nothing, we die, he said simply. The Rendax will not stop. They have made this clear. They want our water, our minerals, our agricultural zones. They do not care that this is our home. The vote took 3 hours. In the end, it was nearly unanimous. The signal would be sent. The message was simple and desperate. It contained coordinates, basic information about Velthara, and a description of the Rendax threat. It explained that Velthara could offer payment in the form of rare crystals and technological knowledge. Most importantly, it was a plea, a cry for help from a species that had never learned how to save itself. The signal went out on every frequency the Veltharans could generate. It shot into the void, traveling at the speed of light toward distant stars, and then they waited. Months passed. The Rendax continued their expansion. More settlements fell. Refugees flooded into the southern cities, overwhelming the infrastructure. Food supplies dwindled. The Veltharan military made brave but futile attempts to slow the invasion. It was like trying to stop a flood with their bare hands. Quirix had almost given up hope when the response came. It was not what they expected. The message was brief and used a strange dialect of Galactic Common that the translation computers struggled with. But the meaning was clear enough. Signal received. Help is coming. Stand by. The source was listed as the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. No one on Velthara had ever heard of Terrans. A quick search of the galactic databases revealed almost nothing. There were rumors and fragments of information. Some traders spoke of a species from a remote sector that had only recently made contact with the larger galactic community. The rumors were not encouraging. Words like aggressive and dangerous appeared frequently. One database entry used a term that made Quirix's skin pattern shift to deep purple. Deathworlder. What have we done? Nivix asked when she saw the information, but there was no time to reconsider. 3 weeks after the response, the Terran fleet arrived. They came out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Velthara system. 7 ships, each one massive and covered in armor plating, that looked like it was designed to withstand incredible punishment. The lead ship was nearly 3 kilometers long, bristling with weapons arrays and launch bays. The fleet moved toward Velthara with purpose, their engines burning bright against the darkness of space. On the surface, every observatory and sensor array locked onto the incoming vessels. The Veltharans watched in awe and growing fear. They are larger than anything in our fleet, the military coordinator reported. The weapon signatures are off our scale. I have never seen designs like this. Quirix felt his respiratory system working faster than normal. These were not peaceful trading vessels. These were warships built by a species that clearly understood conflict in ways the Veltharans never could. A communication request came through. Quirix accepted it with trembling hands. The holographic projection that appeared showed a being unlike anything he had seen before. It stood upright on 2 legs with a compact, muscular frame. Its skin was covered in a uniform of dark blue material. But what struck Quirix most were the eyes. They faced forward like a predator's eyes designed for tracking and hunting. "I am Commander June of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet," the being said. The translation was rough but understandable. "We received your distress call. We are here to provide military assistance against the Rendax incursion." Quirix tried to find his voice. We are grateful. We did not expect such a swift response. "We were conducting operations in a nearby sector when your signal reached us," June explained. His face was difficult to read, but his tone seemed professional. "We will need to meet in person to discuss strategy. I am sending a diplomatic shuttle to your capital. It will arrive in approximately 4 hours." The connection ended before Quirix could respond. "They are coming here," Nivik said, stating the obvious. "To the surface." "What do we do?" "We greet them," Quirix replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "We asked for help. Now we must accept it, whatever form it takes." As the Terran shuttle descended through Velthara's atmosphere, the entire planet held its breath. They had sent a desperate signal into the darkness. Something had answered. Whether that something was their salvation or their doom remained to be seen. In orbit above, Commander June stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the blue and green world below. He had read the briefing files. He knew about the Veltharan's fragility. He knew about the Rendax threat. What he did not yet know was whether his people, humans from a world of constant danger and conflict, could save a species so fundamentally different from themselves without terrifying them in the process. "Prepare the diplomatic team," he ordered, "and remind them to be gentle. Very gentle." There is a difference. High above, June sat in his cow. The aftermath of battle was always harder than the fighting itself. June stood on the bridge 3 days later, reviewing damage reports and casualty lists. 243 Rendax ships had been disabled. 17 had been destroyed when they continued firing after being ordered to stand down. The human fleet had suffered some damage. Scorched armor, depleted shield generators, but nothing that could not be repaired. What concerned him now was the communication that had just come through on a civilian frequency. "Commander, you need to see this," Yuna said, forwarding the message to his display. It was from a Rendax colony ship, not a military vessel but a civilian transport carrying families. They had been en route to Velthara when the battle happened. Now they were stranded, low on supplies, and terrified that the humans would destroy them. "Please," the message read in broken galactic common. "We have young ones aboard. Families. We did not know about the invasion plans. We were just looking for a new home. Do not kill us," Hana read over his shoulder. "How many aboard?" "Sensors show approximately 8,000 individuals," Yuna reported. "Life support is failing. They have maybe 4 days before critical systems shut down." June made his decision quickly. "Send a response. Tell them we will escort them to safe territory. Prepare medical teams and supply drops. And get me Mira. We need to figure out where to relocate them." The order sent shockwaves through the fleet. Some of the human crew questioned the wisdom of helping enemy civilians, but most understood. This was what separated them from the Rendax military command. This was why they fought. When the human ships approached the colony vessel, the Rendax aboard panicked. They saw the massive warships that had destroyed their fleet. They expected death. Instead, they got supply pods filled with food, water, and medical supplies. Human engineers and shuttlecraft came aboard to repair their failing life support. Suho was part of the engineering team. He found himself working alongside terrified Rendax technicians in the ship's engineering bay. The Rendax kept their distance, watching as he rewired systems and replaced burned-out components. A young Rendax, barely an adult, approached cautiously. "Why are you helping us?" Suho looked up from his work. "Because you need help. That is reason enough. But we are your enemy." "You are not my enemy," Suho said, tightening a connection. "Your military leaders made choices that led to war. You are just people trying to survive." "I understand the difference," the young Rendax stared at him. "The stories we heard about Deathworlders, they said you were monsters. That you killed everything in your path." Suho laughed sadly. "Yeah, we can be pretty scary. But monsters do not repair your life support. Monsters do not bring food to your children. We are just different. Really good at violence when we need to be, but also capable of other things." On the surface of Velthara, human Marines were conducting a different kind of operation. They moved through Rendax-controlled territory not to kill but to secure. Kai led one of the squads into a Rendax military base. They had received intelligence that the Rendax soldiers inside wanted to surrender, but were being held by hardline officers who refused to give up. The base was heavily fortified. Walls, automated defenses, underground bunkers. Taking it by force would mean casualties on both sides. Instead, Kai tried something different. He walked up to the main gate alone, his rifle slung across his back, his hands visible and empty. Through speakers on his armor, he broadcast in Rendax language. "My name is Kai. I am with the human forces. We know you want to surrender. We know your officers are preventing this. We are here to accept your surrender and guarantee your safety. Anyone who lays down their weapons will not be harmed." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the gate opened. A Rendax soldier walked out, hands raised, weapon dropped. Then another. Then a dozen more. Within minutes, nearly 300 Rendax troops had surrendered. Only the hardline officers remained inside, trapped and isolated. Grellick was among those who surrendered. His shoulder was still healing, but he could walk. He approached Kai directly. "I know you," he said. "You were at the forward operating base. You shot me," Kai nodded. "I remember. How is the shoulder?" "Your medic patched it well. It will heal." Grellick studied the human. "You could have killed me that night." "Why did you not?" "Because killing you was not necessary," Kai replied. "I disabled you. That achieved the objective. Taking your life would have been wasteful." "Wasteful," Grellick repeated the word. "You see life as valuable, even enemy life." "Especially enemy life," Kai said. "It is easy to kill. Any species can do that. Choosing not to kill when you have the power? That takes strength of a different kind." The Rendax soldiers were processed, given medical care, and allowed to contact their families. Human guards watched over them, but the treatment was fair. Food was provided. Injuries were treated. No one was executed or tortured. This confused the Rendax more than anything else. They had been told that surrender meant death. Instead, they found themselves in clean facilities with adequate supplies. Meanwhile, Mira and a human diplomat named Doyen had arrived from Earth specifically for the negotiations. Doyen was older, experienced in galactic politics, and had a reputation for finding peaceful solutions to impossible situations. They met with the remaining Rendax leadership in a neutral location. The Rendax High Commander Veskil arrived with a military escort. He was older, his scales dulled with age, but his eyes were sharp. "You humiliated us," Veskil said bluntly. "Destroyed our fleet, captured our soldiers, and now you offer to negotiate? We offer you a chance to leave with dignity," Doyen replied calmly. "You made a mistake. You attacked a world that had called for help. You did not know who would answer that call. Now you do. The question is whether you are wise enough to learn from this. And if we refuse," Veskil challenged, "then we will continue operations until every Rendax on this world is either captured or forced to leave," Mira said. "We will blockade your supply routes. We will disable every ship you send. We can do this for years if necessary. Our ships do not tire. Our soldiers do not break. Or you can accept terms now and save everyone more suffering." Doyen pulled up a holographic document. "Here are our proposed terms. All Rendax military forces withdraw from Velthara within 60 days. Civilian colonists are given safe passage to Rendax-controlled worlds, or to neutral territory if they prefer. The Rendax government pays reparations to Velthara over 50 years, the amount to be determined by neutral arbitration. In exchange, humans guarantee safe passage for all Rendax departures, and promise no retaliation or pursuit beyond this system." Veskil read through the terms. They were harsh, but not impossible. More importantly, they were survivable. And if we agree to these terms, what guarantee do we have that you will not simply attack our homeworlds later? "You have our word," June said, entering the room. He had been listening from the next chamber. "And you have seen what we can do. If we wanted to destroy you, we would have done it already. We are not interested in conquest. We are interested in protecting those who ask for our help." Veskil looked at the humans around the table. Each one represented a different aspect of their species. June, the warrior. Hana, the healer. Mira, the diplomat. Doyen, the negotiator. Kai, who had fought with honor even in victory. They were Deathworlders, yes. But they were also something else. Something more complex than simple monsters. "I will take these terms to my government," Veskil said finally. "I cannot promise they will accept. But you will recommend that they do," Doyen said. It was not a question. Veskel nodded slowly. Yes, I will recommend acceptance. We cannot win this war. Continuing to fight would only waste more lives. The meeting ended. As the Rendax delegation left, Hana pulled June aside. Do you think they will actually accept? Yes, June said. Veskel is smart enough to see reality. They lost, but we are giving them a way to save face. That matters in galactic politics. Over the next 2 weeks, the answer came. The Rendax government accepted the terms. They would withdraw from Velthera, they would pay reparations, and they would spread the word across the galaxy about what happened when you attacked a world protected by humans. Suho spent those weeks helping to coordinate the Rendax withdrawal. He worked with Pixel and other Veltheran engineers to ensure the departing colonists had functioning ships and adequate supplies. On the last day before boarding the final transport, the young Rendax he had spoken to approached him. I wanted to say thank you, the Rendax said. You saved my family when you did not have to, Suho smiled. Take care of them, and maybe think twice before your people start another war. I will remember what you said, the young Rendax replied. That you are not monsters, just different. As the last Rendax ship left Veltheran space, Quiric stood with June on a balcony overlooking the capital city. The humans would be leaving soon too. Not immediately, but within a few months once a permanent defense arrangement was established. Your people frightened us, Quiric said honestly. Some still fear you, but I think we understand now. You are dangerous, yes. Perhaps the most dangerous species we have ever met, but you choose to use that danger to protect rather than to conquer. We learned that lesson the hard way, June said. Earth has a long history of humans fighting other humans. We ne.